Hi everyone, this is my June reading wrap-up. If you're new or returning, welcome. My name is Smitty and this is my channel Bookspitten. So in June, I read 4 books and they were all audiobooks, and this was due to the fact that I was still recovering from shingles, especially dealing with that fatigue that comes with shingles. And we were doing some traveling and we were in planes and trains a lot, so I had a good amount of downtime to sit and listen to a book. The first book is a nonfiction read, and that's Better Living Through Birding by Christian Cooper. Now, some of you might remember Christian Cooper. He was the black birder who recorded a racist encounter that he had in Central Park in 2020. This is Christian Cooper's memoir, and we get to learn so much about him in this memoir. Now, it's important to note that while birding is a major theme in Christian Cooper's life, this is not a guide to birding. Now, if you don't know much about birding, I'm sure you're going to pick up a few things as you read this book, but this book is really about Christian Cooper's life and how birding has impacted him. We get to learn more about how he navigated being a black queer man in different spaces, as well as his experience in the comic book industry and his family. Now, Christian Cooper narrated his memoir himself, and I think he did a fantastic job. His wit and reflection definitely came through as he read his memoir. It's so clear that he's such a talented storyteller from both his writing and his oration. I appreciated how he structured this book and his overall storytelling style. And if you do listen to the audiobook, you get to hear some bird sounds, which is also quite fun. So overall, this was a 4.75-star read for me. Next up is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This story follows Tress, who's a pragmatic, level-headed 16-year-old who doesn't like to impose on anyone. She's lived all her life on her island. However, when her dear friend Charlie goes missing, she sets out on a quest to go rescue him. This was my first Brandon Sanderson novel, and I really enjoyed his writing and his humor. While some of the plot points were predictable, I appreciated that Tress was a smart main protagonist. The other characters were also well written, and I appreciated that they didn't come across as one-dimensional. You really got a sense of their complexity and the plights they were facing, and they just felt real. Now, as I mentioned, I did listen to this as an audiobook, and I thought the narration was fantastic. However, I would love to peruse through a physical copy and see the gorgeous illustrations that were mentioned in the book. Overall, this was a 4.5-star listen for me. Next up is The Foxwife by Yangshi Chu. This story primarily follows a female fox who seeks to avenge the death of her child. The two other prominent storylines are the investigation of a young woman's murder by an elderly man named Bao, as well as looking into this supposed curse of this Chinese medicinal family whose eldest son dies by the age of 24, as well as certain daughters. If you go read the blurb, it sounds like this is going to be a fast-paced mystery, and if you read Yangshi Chu's The Ghost Bride, you think that might be what's happening here, but it's not. This is a medium-paced story, and yes, there are mysteries, but I don't think they feel so grand, and for me, they weren't major through lines in this book. For example, one of the mysteries that the blurb writes about is whether or not the main protagonist is a fox. And if you read the first couple pages, it's quite clear that she is a fox. So the blurb aside, I overall did enjoy the novel, maybe not as much as her past novels, because I felt that the story meandered a bit. However, Yangshi Chu's brilliant writing comes through in how she creates settings and atmosphere. I really love that we got a sense of the Manchuria region in this time period, from the diverse cultures that inhabited the area to the different customs that might be at play. It really boiled down to the details for me. Yangshi Chu just really knows how to write things, from food to dress. I really felt that I could picture this world that she was describing. So while this was maybe not my favorite of her work, I will still pick up every book she writes, and overall this was a 4.25-star read for me. Finally, we have The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. This book follows Amina, who is a retired middle-aged pirate living in southern Arabia with her daughter and mother. However, she's quite fearful that her past might catch up to her, which it does. She decides to come out of retirement and gather her old crew because she's been offered a huge life-changing sum to track down the missing daughter of one of her former crewmen. Now, this book has fantasy elements, which I did enjoy. However, the star of the show for me was the setting. Now, I'm an archaeologist who primarily works in the Indian Ocean world region, especially in southern Arabia and in the Horn of Africa. and I was ecstatic to see that my regions that I work on were represented and represented well in this book. I love that people in this dynamic medieval world were front and center. I think the author did an excellent job of portraying the diverse cultures, customs, religions, and sexualities that were present in this region and how they might have interacted with one another. There were some place setting choices that were just brilliant, especially the use of Socotra in one of the scenes. I also love the details that were sprinkled in, especially on medieval boat building. It clearly showed that the author did her research. I did take a sneak peek into her select bibliography, and I was pretty happy to see that some colleagues I know and people's work that I admire had made it into her research as well. The audiobook narration was a lot of fun and made it such an enjoyable listen, and I'm so excited for the next books, and this was a 5-star read for me. So that was my June reading wrap up, and if you're curious to see what I've read in past months, check out this playlist here. That's all for this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.